When we last left the United States Congress on Friday, the House Judiciary Committee was going to court to pry loose the secret grand jury material from Robert Mueller's report. At the time, Chairman Jerry Nadler also offered a coming attractions preview for this week, starting with a lawsuit to try and enforce a subpoena against former White House counsel Don McGahn and to get him to testify. Now, you remember that McGahn refused back in May to testify before Congress, and McGahn claimed he has absolute immunity from congressional subpoenas, which House Democrats say is poppycock. They are threatening jail time and fines for McGahn if he does not comply. And they said on Friday they would be going to court early this week to push the issue. Well, Monday's all but over, and still there's no sign of that McGahn lawsuit. So tick, tick, tick. Meanwhile, it is worth remembering the other big thing that Chairman Nadler rolled out on Friday, the idea that a de facto impeachment inquiry is effectively already underway. House Democrats told the court they need the grand jury material as part of considering what Congress should do about potential articles of impeachment. The message from a growing number of Democrats: go for it. Despite the naysaying of the punditry after Robert Mueller's testimony failed to dazzle the media, on Sunday alone, a surge of congressional Democrats announcing they would support an impeachment inquiry brought the total to 107. Support for an impeachment inquiry is approaching a milestone that Speaker Pelosi is reportedly watching closely. As of Sunday night, it was just 11 votes shy of being a majority of all House Democrats. And the run continued today. Missouri Congressman Emanuel Cleaver of Missouri said he is for an impeachment inquiry. So did Congressman Jose Serrano of New York. And so did a lawmaker who singled out this exchange from Robert Mueller's testimony as the reason she got off the fence.
Okay. Could you say, Director Mueller, that the president was credible?
I can't answer that question.
Director Mueller, isn't it fair to say that the president's written answers were not only inadequate and incomplete because he didn't answer many of your questions, but where he did, his answers showed that he wasn't always being truthful?
I would say, generally.
That exchange with Robert Mueller saying Trump's answers generally weren't always truthful got Democratic Congresswoman Dina Titus to announce she's also in.
I'm calling for an impeachment inquiry because of the mounting evidence that Donald Trump has repeatedly broken the law to protect his own interest. To be clear, misleading the public and the press is not an impeachable offense, but lying to law enforcement officials who are investigating the Russian attack on our democracy and ordering his staff to do the same are serious crimes.
And joining us now is Congresswoman Dina Titus from the great state of Nevada. And Congressman Titus, thank you very much for joining us. So you are now off the fence, and you say it was Robert Mueller's testimony that moved you in that direction. Was it solely on the question of lying potentially to the FBI, or were there other aspects of what you heard from Robert Mueller that moved you to where you are now?
Well, that was certainly one of the factors, but it's been an accumulation of things that really led me to this point. The fact that they have not answered our questions, they have not provided information, they won't come and testify, hiding behind executive privilege, all of that in addition to the Mueller testimony. And also, I'm trying to conduct a study on the emoluments violation with the hotel, and they've just stonewalled us as well. And the people who are calling me here in my district in Las Vegas since the Mueller television investigation have just increased in number and intensity in favor of just moving forward with this impeachment inquiry.
And you know that you got to a question that I wanted to ask you. So before Robert Mueller testified, did you hear a lot from your constituents about impeachment? Did it increase after Mueller spoke?
Well, I've heard kind of a consistent drumbeat, but it certainly increased after the investigation. I think one of the reasons that people are paying attention here in Nevada is that we are the first in the West with the caucus, so a lot of the presidential candidates have been coming through, so they're paying closer attention to the issue here, and that has gotten them more and more stirred up.
And there's been this sort of meme that the reason not to impeach is that what people are saying to their representatives is that they just want to hear about health care, that they don't want this done. And that's kind of been the perception that Democrats believe that the public doesn't want it. So you're saying that's not true?
I don't think it's true in my district, and I think as people get more information as we do an inquiry, it will be less and less the case. They want us to get things done. We've always said we need to legislate as well as investigate. The frustration should really be with the Senate because we have passed some major legislation out of the House in terms of election protection, gun violence, Medicare, to protecting our health care issues. And so I think they need to focus on the Senate. That's where the frustration should be.
Yeah. And as far as the impeachment inquiry as it stands now, do you believe, as you said, you want to look more into the emoluments clause violations, et cetera,
yes,
that with an impeachment inquiry or what's being called an impeachment investigation, do you believe that Congress will have more power to get testimony and documents? Is it your understanding that this is the same as an impeachment inquiry that gives Congress more power in terms of issuing demands for testimony and documents?
I believe it will. It will have more gravitas if it's an official impeachment inquiry. It will be more focused. I think there'll be more pressure on the executive to comply, and we will have more information in a consolidated way. And I think it will give us more authority to get some of that information that they just don't want to give us. Makes you wonder what they're trying to hide.
And do you worry that as this moves forward with Donald Trump's, I'm sure that he will not be pleased with this happening and may try to impede the investigations even further? Are you concerned that he's got one William Barr in place to potentially wreak havoc, even though, as you said, an impeachment inquiry is supposed to give Congress more power?
Well, certainly he's got some of his henchmen surrounding him in key positions, but we do still have the courts, and I want to put some faith in the Supreme Court. And that executive privilege that he likes to claim is not an absolute privilege in the Constitution. It's been interpreted over time, and it doesn't apply for criminal investigations. And I think some of his activities, whether it's paying off the women, that's a campaign violation, or the emoluments clause violations are illegal and worth pursuing on the criminal level.
All right. Well, Congresswoman Dina Titus of Nevada, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And one quick programming note. House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler will be Lawrence O'Donnell's guest tonight on The Last Word. That's coming up at the top of the hour. You do not want to miss that. And we'll be right back.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.